This is going to be a video demonstrating one of my favorite effects that you can do in CorelDRAW. It's a pretty simple effect, but it can be tough to get a good quality result because, well, there's a lot of old-fashioned ways to do it. But let's just look at the design first. This is a real simple kind of athletic design, real common for t-shirts and that sort of thing. One thing you want to do in this style of graphic is it's almost always better to do a distress on a dark shirt with a light print on it. And the reason for that is twofold. One is the dark shirt comes through the print and actually helps kind of build the effect. Whereas if you have a really light shirt and you're doing a distress filter on it, it tends to make the print look washed out and less appealing. So there are a fair amount of light colored shirts, but the print needs to be a little larger on those to kind of make it look like a filled up print, or otherwise it just looks like, sometimes it just looks like it's a bad print. It's less appealing. So first thing we're going to do is just quickly kind of go here and we're going to go ahead and file, edit. We're going to go replace. We're just going to replace this color. We're just going to replace all our blacks in our image with white. Finish, and then replace all. And then Corel's going to go through and replace them all. And then we're going to do the same thing with place objects. We'll do the same thing with the outlines. White. Place all. It'll go through and finish those. And then finally we're going to set the background color different. So go edit, replace, place objects. In this case I'm pretty sure it's a 30% gray. And we'll go ahead and replace that with like a blue. Let's say finish, replace all. Okay. And then we'll do one more time with the outlines here. Edit, place objects. 3. Okay. Place. I think maybe we forgot to hit the outlines button, but we'll check real quick and see if that is the case. Yes. Sometimes you do that. You go through the whole thing and you forget to hit the outlines. Okay. So this is basically indicating like a blue shirt with a white print on it. Now this is a little bit better of a candidate than the other style to do a distress on. Now you could distress black on a gray, and sometimes it works just fine, but in this case this print's probably going to show the distress better. Now to do a quick distress filter that looks realistic, it's real useful if you get yourself a couple of photos. Now there's some pretty good royalty free or actually free photos you can get off the web. You do a little search for them and you can get different types of photos where there's different textures. First, what you have to do, you bring in a texture, make sure it's pretty decent resolution, otherwise it might look really pixelated and kind of ruin the effect. Wood grain tends to work pretty well, so we're going to start with this one. First thing you do is you go bitmaps mode. The resolution's good, so you change it to grayscale. And then what we're going to do is just going to squeeze it with the tone curve here. Effects, adjust tone curve, and then we want to make it a little bit blacker, but mostly you want to knock out most of the highlights here. Let's see where that goes. See, I could probably knock out a lot more, just because I don't want to distress my image too much, or it'll all fall apart and there won't be anything left. That might be good enough. Let's see where we're at here. That's pretty good. So I'll say OK, because you want the image to come through, but you want it to get kind of roughened up here. This looks pretty good. Now the final step in this is to go bitmaps mode, black and white, and then change it to line art. Now you can kind of see, let me back off a little bit. You right click and you back off, or you left click and you zoom in, and you can kind of see if you up the threshold, you grab more of it, drop it, you grab a little less. Middle is usually pretty good, but it depends on how well your tone curve is here. You may want to, in this case, actually go up just a little bit, just to make these pieces a little more solid. I'm going to say OK. And then your last step is to fill it with nothing. and then you're going to outline it with the page color. That way, the only thing that's going to be showing up here is the pieces as they overlay. And you can already see how that's working there to distress our image. And it's going to make it look a little worn out, a little busted up there. Okay, now that's a quick way of doing a really quick way of doing a distress filter. Gives you a pretty realistic effect, kind of a wood grain. A variation to that would be, you can save that one. It's always good to save your file when you're doing photo effects too, because every once in a while, especially if you're tracing or something, it'll program will just have a little problem and kick you out, and then you lose your work. So we don't want that to happen. Bitmap, convert to bitmap. We just need to go mode grayscale again, and then effects just tone curve. Whoops. Effects just. Let's go tone curve here, and same thing. Bump it down just a little bit. Keep those dark black areas, and then get rid of most of the white areas. Let's get a little more here. There we go. Say OK. You can see how that's kind of knocking this out. And this is a little bit of a different texture. So, and then again, we're going to go bitmaps mode, black and white. Again, resolution needs to be pretty high, and this is, so we're okay there. Line art, and we want to beef this one up a little bit, so we're taking pieces out of it. And there we go. And then you overlap it, and you fill it with nothing, and then outline it with the page color. And in this case, you know, it just looks kind of fuzzy, a little bit dirty here and there. So this just kind of gives it an all-around weathered look. If you really wanted to distress this thing, you could use both of them and really beat up your image, make it really worn out on the shirt. That's kind of a cool look. It's pretty popular. Another one final thing you can do, I'll do this occasionally, is some parts of the design you may want to be weathered more than others, so then you'll just distress, like say the middle. The E will be double distressed. The outside won't be as much, so they're just having the one filter. This gives you an overview how to quickly take photos and kind of convert them into textures and then use them as knockout distress overlays in CorelDRAW. Gives you kind of a nice finish there.